What's going on, guys? My name is Quentin Particles, and today I have a groundbreaking new video idea. I don't think this has ever been done in the history of Earth, but today I am ranking every boss in Dark Souls from worst to best. Yes, thank you for the applause. I know it's a great idea. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm just messing around. But if you do enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe because it helps out the channel a lot. So, why not press that button? I see you right there watching the video. Give it a like. I'm serious, I can see you. Like the video. But anyway, I must mention that this is my opinion, and you will most likely disagree with at least one of my placements. So leave a comment, tell me what you would change. I'm always interested in hearing your guys' opinions. So without further ado, let's get into the video. What can I say about the Bed of Chaos that hasn't already been said? I mean, you all know about the Bed of Chaos. Even if you don't play Dark Souls, you probably know about this boss because of just how terrible it is. Now, it wasn't meant to be that way. There's a reason why it's so bad. It's because they had to rush the second half of the game over at From Software, which is a shame. But it really is just a dreadful boss fight. How can I not put Bed of Chaos in last place? Number 25 is the Capra Demon. Like, what were they thinking with this boss? Let's have a boss in a super small arena. Yeah, and have two dogs, because why not? F the player. Seriously, this boss fight sucks. It's a flip of a coin whether you survive the first few seconds, but if you do, then you can run up the stairs and take care of the dogs. From there, the fight is fine. If there were no dogs, then the Capra Demon would have landed much higher on the list. At number 24, we have another demon, that being the Centipede Demon. Overall, this fight is pretty doo-doo. There's a super limited space you can fight him on. You can run across the lava to a bigger area, but still, it's not huge. And the boss itself just doesn't bring anything interesting or fun to the table. At least you can summon Solaire the Homie to get this fight over quicker. The Ceaseless Discharge makes the 23rd place on the list. Yeah, this fight is a boss fight in Dark Souls. I can confirm that. I can also confirm it's not a great boss fight. It's not terrible. You're not going to be, raging about the Ceaseless Discharge. That is if you're not actually fighting it like the real way. If you actually fight the Ceaseless Discharge instead of running away and hitting it till it falls and dies, then you might have some strong opinions. But the reason I have it number 23 and not lower is because, as we all know, you can just run to the start of the arena. Not even an arena, it's just like a little path on the side of a cliff. But if you run to the start, you can just hit the hand a few times and then you win. So yeah, the Ceaseless Discharge basically just broke even. It's not like offensive, it doesn't really do anything. It's not really a boss fight, and I guess you could take points away because of that. But I like my placement of it, so from now on I think these are all decent boss fights. They're all more good than bad, if you get what I'm saying. The next 5 bosses, 22 to 18, are basically interchangeable in my opinion, but the worst of them is the other boss of the Demon Ruins, that being the Demon Fire Sage. The Demon Fire Sage is the first of 2 reskins of the Asylum Demon. I have the Fire Sage down here because, well, for one, it's just a reskin, so I can't put it too high, and the Asylum Demon isn't that spectacular to begin with, but also because of the damn twigs everywhere. Like, why are there random sticks and logs in the arena that stop you from moving? That's my main complaint with this boss, so that pretty much goes to show that this boss isn't anything special. At number 20 is Seath the Scaleless. Seath has a pretty annoying crystal attack that causes curse buildup, and the rest of his attacks are nothing special either, just thrashers and swipes. But his presentation is pretty great with the initial encounter and the crystal caves. I'm talking about how it looks, not how it actually plays, because on repeat playthroughs, the first encounter of Seath can be annoying to have to get through, especially if you're carrying a large amount of souls. I feel like people over-exaggerate how bad the crystal cave is though. On repeat playthroughs, it's easy to get straight to the boss, but that's besides the point. The runbacks are not being taken into account for the ranking, but the look and feel of the boss is, which is pretty cool in this case. Seath's whole crystal thing is kinda baller, I won't lie, but the fight itself is not as baller, which is why Seath finds himself low on this list. Next we got Gravelord Nito. Gravelord Nito is a cool looking dude, and I'll give him some credit, his boss fight is kinda saucy. His fight is pretty good, but it's surrounded by little things that just bring him down. Like, Nito could have been way higher if he didn't have some of these things. The first thing is that when you want to fight the boss, you have to jump down into this hole, and that does a ton of fall damage. This isn't the only fight in Dark Souls that does this. Stray Demon does it as well, but at least it makes sense there. But why do we have to jump into a hole to fight Nito? Like, why? Why do we have to sacrifice an Estus flask to fight Nito? It's like a toll you have to pay. You want to fight Nito, gotta give up an Estus. And once you get down there, there's skeletons that respawn after you kill them. I'm aware that you can use a divine weapon to kill them for good, but you shouldn't have to change your weapon for a boss fight. The skeletons in the front of the arena, by the way, the arena is like this circle with a big pillar in the middle. The skeletons in the front area when you drop down are little guys. They're not that big of an issue, but if you have the misfortune of being cornered into the back of the arena, then there's even bigger skeletons. There's the huge guys, those assholes you have to fight in the Tomb of the Giants. But yeah, Nito himself, like I said, is pretty saucy. There's just some annoying things surrounding his fight that keep him lower on the list. At number 18 we got Gwendolyn. Dark Sun Gwendolyn to be exact. Now Gwendolyn is an interesting character in Dark Souls. You know, she made the illusion of Anne Orlando and the illusion of, what's her name? The lady with the large breasts that gives you the Lord Vessel. Guinevere, that's her name. I think she's an illusion too. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. We're talking about boss fights. And Gwendolyn's fight is, it's okay, it's not like offensive or anything, but it is kind of boring. I'll be real, it's a bit of a snooze fest. All you have to do is chase her down this hallway. I think it's a her. I know there's some weird stuff in the lore about Gwendolyn, like she's a boy but she was raised as a girl or something like that. But yeah, just chase her down and kill her, that's about it. I will say though, I have to mention, she can do a ton of damage if you're not careful. She can easily send you back to the bonfire if you don't respect her attacks. But yeah, Gwendolyn gets the 18th spot on this list. Next we got Pinwheel. Pinwheel is a joke. It's probably the easiest fight in the Souls series. But I think it's a step ahead of the last 5, and obviously the stinkers below them. Because it's not a bad boss. Pinwheel is actually a pretty cool boss. I'll give it the praise it deserves. If Pinwheel was mandatory to fight earlier, I think it could have landed much higher on the list. But it ends up down here because, well, you can kill it in 5 seconds. But Pinwheel has a cool arena and soundtrack, and cool lore as well. It's a shame how easy it is. At number 16 is the Stray Demon. Stray Demon is a reskin of the Asylum Demon from the tutorial, and it's actually fought right underneath where you fought the Asylum Demon. Except this time he has an AoE attack. Pretty crazy, right? For real though, the Asylum Demon is a good fight, so this is a good fight too. Again, you have to take fall damage though, so that kinda sucks. Next up we have the Iron Golem. I just realized the parts for the other bosses were pretty long, so we gotta speed things up. I don't want this video to be too long, but I also want to have time to talk about the good bosses, so let's just speed through these mid ones. Iron Golem has a pretty basic moveset. I will say though, he's the first normal boss that isn't like a monster or a demon. In the progression of the game, not on the list. But yeah, he is a decent boss. Number 14 is Crossbreed Priscilla. Priscilla is interesting. She says the painted world is like a safe haven for the mistreated people of the world. That's all good and jolly, but the problem arises when they try to kill us. She does offer you to leave without fighting her, but where's the fun in that? The fight is pretty decent. She can go invisible and you have to watch for her footsteps. Once you do damage to her, she becomes visible and, it's a decent fight, nothing crazy. Next we got the Sanctuary Guardian. The Sanctuary Guardian is just that, the guardian of the Ulasil Sanctuary. That's literally all its lore is. But the fight itself, I keep saying that by the way, the fight itself is surprisingly challenging. It's the first of the DLC bosses and it is very tough. His moves are difficult and he's a quick little fella too. He's hard to hit with a big strength weapon like I used, but he doesn't have that much health, so it balances out. But one thing about this fight is he will not let you heal. Like, he never stops attacking, and it can be really frustrating sometimes. Number 12 is the Taurus Demon, which is the first real boss after the tutorial. The Taurus Demon reminds the player about plunging attacks, which they learned from the Asylum Demon. The fight takes place on a tight bridge, which can make it difficult to navigate around the Taurus's legs, but if you can just maneuver your way past him for plunging attacks over and over, you should be fine. The Asylum Demon is the tutorial boss of Dark Souls, and it does a good job of teaching the player the mechanics of the game. It's really not a crazy fight, just a good introduction to the series and a good way to learn the mechanics of Dark Souls. Okay, now we're in the top 10, the good stuff. These are the top tier Dark Souls bosses. From now on, these are all great fights, starting with the Bell Gargoyles. The Bell Gargoyles is the first real challenge of Dark Souls, and it marks the first step in progress in the game, with ringing the first bell. The Gargoyles are also the first duo fight besides Man-Eaters in the Souls series. The fight starts out with one gargoyle, and then another comes in when the first one gets to half health. One of them breathes fire on you while the other hits you with melee attacks. For only the second duo fight ever in Soulsborne, these guys are super baller. The Four Kings make the number 9 spot on this list, and yeah, this is a pretty dope fight. Basically, you just have to kill the king before the next one comes. The Four Kings is a skill and DPS check, and yeah, it's a really fun fight. It takes place in the Abyss, which is just super cool by the way. But also, it is hard to see how close the king is to you. Maybe it's because there's no, landmarks. There's nothing on the ground, it's all just pitch black, and it makes it hard to tell how close you are to the boss. But yeah, there's not much to say about the Four Kings besides that, it's just a fun fight. Number 8 is Chaos Witch Quelaag. Quelaag is a very tragic character. She watches over her dying sister and collects humanity for her or some shit. I don't know, who cares? I'm just here to talk about boss fights. And yeah, this is a great one. She can be a real challenge for new players, but for experienced veterans like myself, Quelaag does not pose much of a threat. You just have to watch out for the AoE explosion that does surprisingly high damage. Okay, number 7 is the Gaping Dragon. I know, you probably didn't expect the Gaping Dragon to be this high, but hear me out. Just look at the thing. This is like the 5th boss in the game. This thing is huge, and it has teeth all on its belly. Do you remember the first time you fought the Gaping Dragon? You went from fighting Bell Gargoyles and Capra Demons to this? My point is, this thing is crazy for an early game boss, and it's a pretty good fight too. He does have a lot of health though, maybe a little too much. But besides that, this is a great fight. Too often I see people overlook the Gaping Dragon, but I think it deserves way more respect. Next up is Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. Gwyn is basically the big bad guy of Dark Souls. Everything bad in the series can be traced back to Gwyn, but his boss fight is not as grandiose as you might expect. He's just this hollow, but his fight is still pretty fun. I mean, it's not much of a challenge if you parry, which I did, but it's still fun. Now, I probably wouldn't put a boss this high if I was just yeah, it's fun. But the reason I have it this high is because of the music. I mean, how could I not? It's plin plin plon. The first few seconds of this boss are so iconic. The plin plin plon and then Gwyn jumps at you. It's so good. How could I not put it up here? I can't put it that high because there are much better bosses than Gwyn. But I really like Gwyn, so this is where I put him. Breaking into the top 5, we have Black Dragon Calamite. Calamite is a cool character. He's so powerful that you need to get help from Goth to injure him, so you even have a chance. That just shows the player how powerful the dragons are. You can't even try fighting one of them without help. And once the dragon is injured, it's a great boss overall. It's a tough one, just like all the DLC bosses in this game. But it doesn't seem unfair. It's always if you're good enough, you can beat this boss. And yeah, it's really fun to fight. But one thing I don't like are the 2 dogs outside the boss arena. Why do I have to fight 2 dogs to get to Calamite? By the way, runbacks aren't being accounted for in the ranking. I just wanted to mention this. Also, the one fire breath attack, I feel like I dodged through it, but I still get hit. Maybe it's just my bad on the timing, but I feel like I dodged through it. Or maybe I just need to position myself better. But overall, Kelmy is grateful. Number 4 is Great Grey Wolf Sif. Sif is a super sad boss, and the story around him and Artorias is amazing. You need to get the Covenant of Artorias to fight the 4 kings, but Sif won't let you take it from his master's grave, so you killed him. If you went to the DLC and rescued Sif before fighting him in the base game, there's a special cutscene where he recognizes you, which makes it even sadder. The actual fight is pretty great too, but you can trick the AI by staying underneath him. Also, the music in this fight is another banger. Overall, this is one of the top tier boss fights in Dark Souls. Starting off the top 3 is Ornstein and Smo, the classic duo boss. These guys are the goats. Maybe except for the Demon in Pain and Demon from Below, but O and S are still great. I won't say they're super tough because honestly they're not. After Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3, the first 2 of the Souls trilogy are not that difficult. Dark Souls 1 is especially easy if you're on a late load, but that doesn't take away from the fun of this fight. The 2 are balanced so well, and they're just super cool too. Their armor is sick, and the opening cutscene is so cool. The music too, like bro, this fight is so good. Second place is the Abyss Daddy, Manus. I'm sorry. Manus, Father of the Abyss, takes the silver medal, and with good reason. He's probably the hardest boss in Dark Souls, and like everything about this fight is great. The moveset, the arena, the boss design, the magic that you have to use the pendant for. Well, you don't have to, but you probably should, and the lore as well. The reason you have to get the broken pendant to get to the DLC is because, well, Manus really wants that pendant, and it's his hand that brings you into the Ulysses. It also ties into the story of Artorias, because we the player are actually the one who traverses the abyss and defeats Manus. The story of Artorias is actually our story. It's just a baller boss. Was there ever any doubt? If your IQ is above room temperature and you know the process of elimination, then you would have figured out that number 1 is Knight Artorias. Artorias feels like a Dark Souls 3 boss. He really would fit right in Dark Souls 3. But yeah, everything about this fight is just so good. The mechanics of the fight, the lore, the music, the arena, it's just so good. The best boss in Dark Souls, easily. If you made it to the end of the video, pat yourself on the back, because almost nobody is able to do that these days because of TikTok, so good job. Also, thank you for making it to the end. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff because it helps out the channel a lot. I've got some new type of videos coming soon, and also some Bloodborne videos, so stay tuned. That's about it. See you later.